Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Average Film Enjoyer podcast. I am one of your hosts, Trey, and I am joined today by my co-host, Jagger. Jagger, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you?
I am doing absolutely swell. We are excited today because I believe this will be the first episode released with a guest. Yeah, today on our podcast we have Seth from like his TikTok account and Seth's Film Reviews. If you're on Film Talk at all, you've seen him. Seth, you just want to introduce yourself, tell the folks where they can find you and find your content.
Yeah, so I am here. My camera isn't working, so I am behind my black screen at the minute. Yeah, I mean TikTok, Seth's film reviews. It's the same on every platform:
Yeah,
Instagram, YouTube, Letterboxd Seth reviews. It's pretty much the same, man. I think, like you said, if you're on Film Talk, you might have seen me before. I make, I guess, average movie content. Who knows? But I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, yeah. Of course, we're excited to have you on. So something we like to do with our guests. The folks listening get to know what kind of movies they like. Is just have our guests talk about their top four movies on Letterboxd and
Ooh.
why those are their top four, or any top four movies you want to talk about.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, my top four changes like quite frequently. Like, it's a point
Mm-hmm.
where it's like I usually do it every couple months, every month, something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So my favorite of the minute, my number one is Ran, Akira Kurosawa's Ran.
yeah.
Similar to Seven Samurai, like a blockbuster, the blueprint for an action blockbuster. Aside from the cinematography, which is everyone's spoken about, and Kurosawa's use of color to show the character's worst traits of human, the best traits of human. But I think its portrayal of a Shakespearean adaptation is probably the best ever, or at least the best I've seen. So Ran is my number one. Number two right now is actually Eraserhead. So I am a big Lynch guy. Eraserhead's not my favorite Lynch by any means, but I watched it very recently, so I just decided to stick it in there. A really difficult film to dissect. I've watched it many, many, many times, but I think it just is a film on powerlessness, becoming a parent, misery, relationships, and I think Lynch just produces it in such an obscure way. And obviously, that was his debut. I really appreciate that. Third, we have M. Night Signs. So
Yes.
a perfect film in my eyes. A film like not about aliens, about belief, to believe in something more, about religion. I think it's just a beautiful piece of storytelling, and of course M Night. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I'm a huge fan of his visual style. I think he always finds an interesting place to put a camera, and I think that Signs has just been one of my. I think it is my favorite projects from him, and has been for a while. And then four right now we've got Titan from 2021. Just a really unique body horror on identity and finding yourself, and also acceptance as well, and sexuality, and the need for family, the need for friendships. Really one that's not for everyone, just because of how visceral the imagery is. But I think Titan is one of the better horror films we've had in the last couple of years, anyway. Because I don't know, I've not really enjoyed a lot of the horror that's come out recently. I don't think it's been great, and I think that was as well, and I have completely forgotten her name, but whatever. But yeah, that's it. They're the top four right now.
Yeah, I mean, I love the only one I've seen I want to see Ran because I love Kurosawa. But Signs, I mean, I know a lot of people. M. Night Shyamalan, I feel like, is a very
Love
uh
or hate director.
he exactly. Yep. And he's very, I don't know, he either really hits for me or he really misses.
Yeah,
So like stuff like Unbreakable and Split are like my two favorites.
yeah.
And The Village and Signs, obviously Sixth Sense, but then his other stuff, I mean, obviously Last Airbender was really disappointing.
Why I haven't seen that. I've not even
Oh,
watched the show, so I don't. I don't have any
yeah,
connection to that at all.
it as a fan of the show when I was a kid, seeing that was just it was just disappointing.
Yeah.
And The Happening wasn't my favorite, but I think I do quite enjoy him. I don't know, Jagger, I don't know how you feel. I don't think we've ever talked about M. Night Shyamalan on this podcast.
I don't know that we have either. And again, there are some M Night movies that I really like and some that I really don't like. Then he has stuff like Knock at the Cabin that I kind of hold sort of in the middle. I'm in
Yeah.
the minority that kind of liked The Visit.
I like The
Um,
Visit.
Oh,
I thought
I
it was cool.
love The Visit. I completely forgot that's Shyamalan. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
movie.
I thought it was cool.
yeah, so I do like some of his stuff. Some of his other stuff, though, yeah, obviously is a miss. I have unfortunately watched The Last Airbender. That was really, really bad.
Yeah,
But I would like to touch on the fact that you have Eraserhead in your top four, because
yeah.
I know you, Trey, don't love it. However, I do. I really think that it is a great, great film. Big Lynch guy, so I appreciate you having that up there that high.
Yeah, I'm a big Lynch guy, so I've had a lot of Lynches in my top four. Obviously, my favorite being Lost Highway, by far. But any Lynch really on any day, aside from Dune, which whatever, would could be in my top four just because I'm a huge fan of his work, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched Eraserhead a few weeks ago, and that was my first experience with Lynch. Um,
Yeah, you're not going to
so
get much from Razorhead on the first watch.
I think it's something. I gave it 3.5.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I
cool.
think it's something that could definitely go up. I could see going up on rewatch, but it would need it. I think that's one that warrants multiple
Yeah,
watches.
it needs them. I think most Lynches do, but specifically that one, it's just such a
Yeah,
weird narrative. It's so bizarre. Is that your
yeah.
first Lynch, or have you seen multiple?
That's my first one.
Okay, I would have
I'm
suggested Blue Velvet as a first,
Yeah, Blue
personally.
Velvet, and then Jagger keeps trying to get me to watch Mulholland Drive because that's one of his favorites.
Yeah, Mulholland Drive is great. I just think Blue Velvet is like it showcases his surrealism, but it also
Hmm.
has a narrative you can follow and like an actual structure to it. Whereas Lost Highway is like all over the fucking place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
for
definitely
sure.
give Blue Velvet a watch because I think you'll probably end up quite liking that a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will. But I wanted to get into our movie review for today. So, as our listeners know, we have been working our way through the IMDb top 250. We've reviewed movies such as Persona, The Iron Giant, The Help, Dances with Wolves, stuff like that. So today, we are reviewing the French coming of age film from 1959 called The 400 Blows. We're on Zoom today, so I'm going to pull up Letterboxd on my phone. Um, I gave this movie 4.5 stars. I think both Jagger and Seth, you guys both have this at 5 stars. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in. I've seen it twice. I think last time I watched it was like 3 months ago. So not 2 or 3 months ago, not too long. But I give it a five. Yeah, both times. I really like it. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So 400 Blows came out in 1959, has a 4.3 overall on Letterboxd. And yeah, I quite enjoyed this. Oh, I completely forgot to go through the synopsis. Sorry, listeners. So for young Parisian boy Antoine Donil, I probably just absolutely botched that.
I think you
Uh,
did.
Life is one difficult situation after another, surrounded by inconsiderate adults, including his neglectful parents. Sweet Jesus. Antoine spends his days with his best friend, Renee, trying to plan for a better life. When one of their schemes goes awry, Antoine ends up in trouble with the law, leading to even more conflict with unsympathetic authority figures. Yeah, I quite enjoyed this film. Um, but if you guys want to, you guys have it rated higher than me, so if you guys want to start us off with your opening thoughts, go right ahead.
Seth,
Who
I
wants to go first?
Seth, I think you should take it. Yeah.
Yeah. So 400 was an interesting one. I actually just checked now. I made a top 100 favorites list recently. It comes in at 49th, so in the top 50 of mine all time, which is quite the high amount. I think the 400 Blows is a really interesting film. Now, I'm a huge fan of coming of age stories in general.
Hmm.
I'm a huge fan of dark, realistic coming of age stories, primarily in what I usually compare it to for like a modern version would be like Moonlight, for example,
Yeah,
in a way that it kind of displays, optimism, but also hardships of growing up and of having no real father figure and authoritarian figure around you and people treating you differently. Now, I think The 400 Blows is, first of all, the setting is incredible. I think the
Mhm.
cinematography is really a strong point of this film. It's rich in realism with just stunning visuals, especially with the ending as well. Um, Obviously, we'll get to the ending, but one of the best final shots I've seen, maybe ever. And I think it's just effectively a really simplistic character study that doesn't need complexity of a 13-year-old boy's struggles, of a passionless family, those who aren't really bothered with him, whose manipulative authority just leads him to go astray and to kind of do his own thing and get into trouble in the meantime. And I think you're
Yeah.
just watching him as a person, as a character develop. And I think it's a film that's kind of equally both kind of tragic and meditative in a way where it's kind of like a soothing watch. I would describe it as, especially within the first half when they're kind of just walking around up to no good. Um, but yeah, I think it's just a really interesting film. Like I think it captures the feeling so well of being a kid and kind of having adults think they know what's best for you is the primary thing, and having people think that and then not really knowing what's best for yourself and needing a good strong authority figure, but not someone who's going to kind of take advantage and go astray with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I give it 5 star. I think it's obviously a huge thing as well. It was Francois Truffaut's debut in '59.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
it's obviously one of the most impressive in my eyes directorial debuts ever.
yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think he was actually in his mid 20s when he came out with this. So
Yeah.
just remarkably impressive. But yeah, I give it a 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite coming of age stories ever. I think it's just very, very effective in what it tries to tell.
Yeah. Jagger, why don't you go ahead and give us your opening thoughts or anything that's coming to mind right now? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that he said. It is very realistic. It does capture a lot of that adults knowing what's best for you sort of concept, and it does it all really, really well. It's a very simple film as far as a lot of things go, like really simple.
Yeah.
But somehow it manages to find that area of haunting, heartbreaking film within its very simplistic. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. It is a phenomenal coming of age film. I'd say it's probably top 5 coming of age in my opinion. Um, and I find it on a technical aspect, on a like viewers aspect as well, to be a genuinely
Mm-hmm.
perfect film. Um,
Yeah.
it's one that I do often find myself thinking about certain scenes of because they've stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a movie that, or it's a film, I should say, that definitely sticks with you and is definitely one that impresses you both during and after watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. I couldn't agree more. The biggest thing, golly, I can't talk today. The biggest thing that stood out for me was the cinematography. Specifically, there's this one shot in the film that I kept coming back to, and it's when Antoine he's on the spinning ride. I can't remember what you
Yeah.
call those, but the way the camera, it, that entire scene, I found very very interesting. And as I was watching the film, I think I rewinded that like 3 or 4 times just to keep watching it and over again, because just the way that was shot was so interesting. And like Seth said, the final like 5 minutes, um, it was absolutely stunning to look at. And yeah, I quite liked it. I didn't give it. I can't remember what I gave it out of 100. I know I gave it 4.5 stars.
Are you a ranker out of 100 kind of thing? Or
You know
rating?
what, I used to not be, but then I started getting like I feel like it's easier for me to make lists when I have more
Yeah, yeah,
specific
definitely, definitely.
numbers. uh so I think I gave this yeah, I gave this 94 out of 100, so it was like 1 point from 5 stars for me. um but yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. The I thought I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts on this, because this is something I took a note of. So today, in today's world, I find that we Jagger excluded, we don't get a lot of great child actors. Um, and but Jagger, you're excluded. You're phenomenal. We love you.
Thank you.
Um, but like it's specifically watching this, and then I saw the Goonies. They re-released it at Regal, so went and saw that with my mom. And watching people like Corey Feldman and Sean Astin and guys like that when they were young, and then watching this one as well, it really brings me like, wow, child actors used to be absolutely unbelievable. Like Corey Feldman is the one I always go back to,
Yeah,
because
I
he had,
think it's it's a funny one because I think with these kind of lower tier projects back in the day, like a 400 blows in terms of the budget and stuff like that, they opted for a more kind of human, authentic approach. Whereas I say now, a lot of the child acts you get are being kind of taught in a way to overact, which I think
yeah,
doesn't breed authenticity and doesn't look as human as the 400 blows, where it's like you're watching a documentary of a just kid who's confused. Do you know what I mean? And I
yeah,
think
yep,
now you do get a lot of the overacting, and that's the same not even just with child acts, with um, adult actors as well. And it really is a case of just then it relying on them to be more authentic and be more realistic and just to act like a human. That's kind of the way I would look at it in terms of that side. But I definitely agree with you. I think there are some child performances now which aren't amazing by any means.
yeah, yeah. Like just watching the Goonies, and I mean, there's so many people in there who are huge actors now.
Yeah,
That were kids then, like Josh Brolin. Watching Josh Brolin in that movie is crazy, because he's just so young, but he's so good. And then watching movies now, I mean, you have some really good child actors working today, like Jagger. Um, and I thought that young kid from Beau is Afraid, um,
yeah, yeah.
uh,
All right, man.
was really really good. And but it's just, I totally agree with you. Like there's just a lot of overacting happening. And Jagger, I'm wondering, as an actor, like as a child actor that works, what do you have any specific thoughts about this topic?
Yeah. I The Goonies was a great example. The one that always comes to mind for me is The Exorcist. I think that Linda Blair was
Yeah,
extraordinary in that film.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, the 400 blows. What's that kid's name? I cannot think. The one who plays Antoine Doinel.
Yeah,
Is
let me see.
he
Um,
is phenomenal. He has a very down to earth performance, I guess you could say. He
mhm.
has a almost fatally realistic performance where it feels bleak by the end of it, but it is perfect for what the movie is trying to do. And I think his performance sort of encapsulates what the movie was trying to do. And for someone to pull that off, much less a kid at his age, is almost enamoring. I feel like is
Mhm.
the word to use
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I found his name. His name is Jean-Pierre Lehoux. I probably botched that too, but it sounds right. But yeah, I totally agree. He was absolutely like, I find that with a lot of older films that have child actors, they're a lot more, it's not so dramatic, you know. They're just like kids being kids.
yeah.
Um and yeah, that is what I really enjoyed about it. I want to bring up
Oh, I
one
hate
scene.
um
Oh, yeah,
I
go ahead. Go ahead.
I hate to interject, but on
No.
that same fatally realistic note, as far as child performances go, my mind almost wandered over to the kid from Funny Games, the 97 one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is more of that realistic child acting that you don't see as much today, like you were saying. Um, but yeah, beyond those, I can't think of many others, which is why this one is one of those ones that really stands out, because this one
Yeah.
almost seems to step above the other ones that would come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was more of an emphasis on acting now. There's more of an emphasis on being an actor. Whereas then I feel like the director would let the kid especially have more free reign in the body movement, in showcasing emotion, rather than emphasizing this is how you have to act, this is where we want you to be. I feel like then it was a lot more relaxed. Obviously not all the time, but there are stories where,
Hmm.
directors would let them have a lot more free reign, whereas now it might be a case where it's all based on entertainment, which I'm not saying is a problem of blockbusters, for example, but that tends to be what you see is the acting is very exaggerated, which it works and it doesn't work, but it's much harder for a kid to do exaggerated acting than just to be a kid in a film and act authentic.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of tends to be the primary reason. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think the performance from him in the film is really really brilliant. Definitely.
Yeah. And one scene I wanted to bring up, and this comes kind of to a thing I like thinking about with older films, is I find with older films, when the comedy, if there is comedy involved in the film, it doesn't usually hit for me as well as like newer stuff, which is like understandable because they're writing this comedy for people who lived in 1959, not for people who
Yeah.
are living in 2023. But there was quite a few. I felt like there was some comedy involved in this film. And there's one scene. It was about the only thing that made me like laugh out loud. Like I had a few chuckles, but this one like had me belly laughing. It's near the beginning, and they're in the classroom, and there's that one kid up front. And if you guys can hear the construction in the background, sorry about that. But there's one kid in the front who is writing with ink, but he keeps getting the ink on his hand and then
Oh yeah.
spreading it. Oh my. Every time he would like rip out a page or something like that, and then he would like mess up the next one, then rip out that page. I was dying. I was laughing so hard. And when an older film can make me laugh like that, I find it very impressive to because that humor is so transcendent and so it just ages well. So I'm wondering if you guys had any moments like that or have any moments like that with this film, because I feel like there's a few, but that's the big one for me.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few funny moments. I think Truffaut manages to bring out a childlike energy in a way where it's kind of whimsical, it's fun, and I think I agree with what you said because you know comedy moves with time. Comedy's always ever changing. What
Mm-hmm.
makes most people laugh is always ever changing, which is why even now we don't see the same comedies as we did in the late 2000s. 15
Yeah.
years ago, we don't even see them. So I think for something to make you laugh, it's definitely more of a rare occurrence than now. But I think yeah, in the 400, there's many scenes which definitely got like a little laugh out of me because it has that kind of childlike, especially in the first part. Obviously, as you go ahead, it's a little bit more devastating. It's a little bit more methodic and thematic. But then in the first kind of half an hour, there's a lot of like childish nature of them kind of pulling pranks of them up to no good. And I think it works in a way where he kind of reflected the child's existence in such a way where it really works with the film. So yeah, I definitely agree, 100%.
Yeah. Jagger, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like you guys hit the core ones of the moments that did kind of make me chuckle, laugh, whatever it is. Um, but I would almost like to get into the more deep end of the movie towards the, like, I'd say that 30-minute line past where the movie starts to become a little bit more drama focused. Um,
Yeah.
and when it does get drama focused, it gets very drama focused.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote down in my review on Letterboxd that it is a genuinely heartbreaking movie because it's not a work of fiction as much as it is something that could both totally happen,
Yeah.
and is a movie that is extremely, extremely realistic. And it
Mm-hmm.
heavily leans into its realism as one of the things that makes it stand out from other movies.
Well, I mean, the film itself was actually, I believe, inspired by his life as a kid.
Yeah.
So it basically, in terms of the main character, our protagonist, not quite the same. You know, it is kind of about him representing the end of his childhood and the beginning of his adulthood. That's why you see him kind of run on the beach at the end, whatever. And I think it's him escaping the confines of authoritarian figures like the juvenile system he ends up in, but and becoming an artist, which is what a similar thing that I think I read the Francois Truffaut experience, but not an autobiography by any sense, but a similar experience such as Steven Spielberg with The Fablemans from last year.
Yeah.
Like a rough copy, you know what I mean? And I think it works in such a way where it's so realistic and authentic, and nothing is kind of pushed further for a film because it was based roughly on his life and his own experiences, to the point where he can really explain and tell what emotion this kid is going through, from not even dialogue, from, for example, when he first is in the juvenile system, or at the end when he's running on the beach and he's kind of ending his childhood life, because it's based on the own direct experiences, which I
Mm-hmm.
often find have a massive impact on the audience's ability to understand what emotion is happening, because the director was going through it himself. That's
Yeah.
kind of the way I'd look at it.
Yeah. So, I don't really have any more notes that I want to go over for the film. Does anybody have any other topics or stuff they want to talk about before we go into our questions?
I'm good. I think we covered most of what I
Yeah.
wanted to cover.
I
Yeah.
feel,
Jagger, what about you?
I feel really good. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good stuff. All right. So, starting out with our number one question. What is our number one, Jagger? I'm having a brain fart right now.
I believe it's most rewatchable scene.
That is what it is. I am sorry, everybody. I'm very tired today. Yeah, most rewatchable scene. Seth, why don't you kick it off? What is your most rewatchable scene for the film?
Are you guys east side or west side?
I'm
What do you mean?
As in, you said you were tired. I didn't know where you were based. That's all.
Oh no, yeah, I'm in Oregon.
I'm
But I just woke up early this morning and have been working on a construction site all day.
Okay.
and I'm
Yeah,
all the way east. So
yeah,
I'm
we're like
all
the opposite of each other.
I'm all the way here and he's all the way here. So time zones are a difficult thing.
You're talking
Yeah.
to me, who's in a podcast with three American guys.
Yeah, yeah, dude.
Yeah, no, I understand that. What was the question? Sorry, most
Most
rewatchable scene
rewatchable scene. Yeah.
in 400 Blows?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the ending, absolutely. Absolutely ending for me. I've rewatched it plenty of times. The scene where he's just running on the beach, just blind
Mhm.
optimism.
Yeah.
I think it's so touching. I think it's such a perfect way to end the film, and the tones of what we just spoke about.
Yep.
So yeah, the final 5 minutes where he's just running for ages, that'd be mine, definitely.
Yeah. Jagger, what about you? Most rewatchable scene for you?
I'm gonna have to totally agree. Starting from when he runs out of the prison all the way down to when he runs to the beach. I think that is a magnificent scene.
Absolutely.
It's great.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's my number two. But for me, as some people know, I'm like the thing that will lock me into a movie the most is a good, compelling script. So the scene and like good dialogue. So the scene that I find the most rewatchable is where he's being interviewed about what happened before the prison place.
Yeah.
In the prison. I just found that scene super compelling. I feel like the guy who plays Antoine does an absolutely stellar job in that scene, and I just really, really enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Our next question is, who won this movie? So if this movie only won one Oscar, what would it be?
Oscar. I'd probably edge my bets on screenplay. That'd be a safe choice, I think.
Yeah.
I think the writing, well, it could be cinematography, it could be whatever. If I'd say the strongest part, it probably would be the writing in my eyes, so I'll probably go with that.
Yeah. Jagger, what about you?
I think that this movie, if we were going for that hypothetical Oscar, should be a sweep. It should take everything. But The cinematography of this movie was absolutely phenomenal. And as much as I would like to say directing, I think Francois Truffaut is great. I think that the directing on this
Yeah.
movie is phenomenal. I think that Jean-Pierre Loh is great as Antoine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the cinematography on this movie, there's the shot that's the cover of the Criterion Collection case of it,
Yeah.
where it's him holding the bars. There's a lot of specific shots in this movie that are incredible. So I think I'll go cinematography.
Yeah. Um, I think honestly, I'm gonna have to go with direct best. I think the person who wins this is how do you say his first name, Seth? I know
Francois. Francois.
Francois. That's so
Yeah.
fancy. Truffaut. I think he wins it, especially now that I know this was his directorial debut. This is such an impressive start to a career. And so that's who it would have to be for me. I just think this movie's so well directed. And it makes it even more impressive. It's his first feature film. So next question, for you guys, does this movie belong on the IMDb top 250?
Uh, yeah. The IMDb, it's just weird. The IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to judge it off mine, like I said before, I have it in my top 50. So yeah, absolutely for me. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Jagger, what about you?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, I honestly think it belongs higher than what it's at, which is I believe 244. And like we have some stuff on here like that we've reviewed that we don't think like Seth, I don't know what your thoughts are in it. I know in the UK Monty Python is regarded a lot more highly, but we
Yeah.
watched Life of Brian. And we both of us thought it was fine. I thought I enjoyed most of the jokes. I got joke fatigue, but like that's one we were like, this I don't think this belongs on top 250, but I think this one does, and I think it belongs a lot higher.
Yeah,
Um,
I like Life, Brian. It's not. I think Monty Python. I think the Holy Grail is better.
yeah, yeah,
It's very much like a British dad film. You know what I mean? That's like your dad's favorite
yep,
film, like Gladiator, like Die Hard, Monty
yep.
Python, those sort of films. But yeah, it's good. I didn't actually know that was rated so highly. And I think like the 400 Blows is. I'd assume it's a lot higher on Letterboxd on their top 250. I think.
Oh, for sure.
I
Yeah,
th-
I think it's in the top 100.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
It's 97. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, and then last question. So our main character, would Antoine Doniel, would he beat Jack Torrance in a fight? And Seth, here are the rules for this:
No.
no weapons, and they can bring in anyone from their movie. So like,
No.
I
So
I mean,
who would he
I
bring?
I hate that Jack Torrance wins every time, except he got that draw
You
with
need to
the
go like
Iron
King
Giant.
Kong or some shit. You know what I mean? Draw with Iron
Yeah.
Giant.
No,
That's-
see,
okay.
here's the thing. Here's Jagger's logic. I thought this was so stupid because obviously the Iron Giant would win every single time. But here's Jagger's logic. So the Iron Giant, he basically his weapons are a defense mechanism for when he sees a weapon. So by that logic, and by the logic that there are no weapons allowed, he wouldn't see a weapon in Jack Torrance like that
But
Jack Torrance has. So
Jack
therefore he
Torrance
wouldn't
does carry a weapon, though. So it's like, do you know what I mean?
And,
see that's what I don't know. We decided it was a draw.
and
Um,
even if weapons were allowed, the
yeah,
we talked to Gunch about this. The whole purpose of the reason the Iron Giant was made
yep,
was it Brad Bird's sister, I believe.
mm-hmm,
Brad
yeah,
Bird's sister died to gun violence, so he made the movie with the proposition of what if there was a gun that didn't shoot people?
yeah. I think it was
There
what
was a
if a
gun.
gun was sentient and it didn't want to kill people?
So you're going
Um,
off more than just their their physical ability then.
Yes.
I mean,
Because
we really go
physical
deep
ability.
into this, but
Okay.
I think this one, I think Jack Torrance wins.
There's no
Just
one
like
he could bring. There's no one. Like a teacher, like a policeman. No.
no, because he hates all of them.
He
So
hates all of them.
yeah, Jack
Yeah, I love
Torrance
that.
wins. Um,
I
before we,
I
oh,
have
go ahead, Jagger.
I have one thing that I want to ask you, Seth, if since you're
Yeah.
here. I know that you are a fan of the movie This Is England, right?
Yes, most definitely.
And as someone who is also a huge fan of it, you rated mid-90s a 4-star.
Yeah.
Did you not at any point feel like it was blatantly stealing it?
It's an interesting question. I would say not necessarily. I think it's weird because I think that films can be derivative in a sense where it's a negative, but they can also take influence. I think This Is England was such a huge factor and a huge driving force in England and the UK in the mid 2000s, to the point a lot of coming of age films took a similar formula. Whereas I don't think it's exactly the same. I definitely see your point. You know, the relationship with him and the girl, for example, the relationship of how he meets the guys. I get it. But at the same time, I think there's a difference in influence where I differ from a derivative term. For example, like the Joker with King of Comedy. I think that's to the point where it's genuinely derivative because that doesn't have a focal point of where it wants to go. Where I think mid 90s works with an American audience. Do you know what I mean? I think it works differently in that kind of way.
Yeah,
But I think This Is England was such an influential powerhouse in coming of age story, especially within the working class, like mid 90s, that it's just gonna have some influence. Do you know what I mean? It's just gonna be there. So I get it, but I wouldn't say direct. I would just say perhaps a few scenes were very similar, maybe. I don't know.
All right, yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, I just wanted to ask.
yeah.
All
And
right.
so before we get in to our draft for the day, um, so I just wanted, again, this is something I wanted to talk about, and this is why we're skipping high and lows today, but I wanted to just bring one thing up. Jagger, I don't know if you've seen this, but I know uh, Seth has seen this. Oh, Jagger, this is on your watch list. Okay. Well,
Alright.
Seth, the other day I had a watch party with another guy from the other Discord, Ben, and we watched Hell House LLC.
Oh, okay.
And I am not kidding when I say I genuinely had a hard time sleeping after I watched that, and I'm just wondering
Yeah.
what your thoughts are on that movie because there's some parts in that are like genuinely terrifying.
No, I'm like so. I watched it fairly recently, back in
Mm-hmm.
like April, March, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy. I've watched like a lot of horror films. It was kind of I watched exclusively horror and thriller for years of my life when I was younger,
Yeah.
and that genuinely scared me a lot.
Yeah.
In the first, for I think that film was so good up until for me when it hit like the 50-minute the hour. I didn't like the ending at all. It really like ruined a lot of it for me. But I think in terms of strictly scares, in terms of found footage, there were
Yeah.
certain sequences in that which fucking like really scared me.
Yeah.
So really like impressively so, surprisingly so. I didn't expect anything going into it like most. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how it is for me too. Me and Jagger are both huge horror nerds. Big fans of The Shining, Evil Dead, stuff like that. But it's and so I think I'm kind of numb to a lot of stuff at this point. I've just watched stuff so much
Yeah.
that basic like kind of like jump scary stuff. I kind of you can see it coming and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there was some stuff in that where I was genuinely like it was just done so well, and I don't think it's my favorite found footage. Blair Witch will always hold that place for me because I
You
think
want to know
that
my
movie.
opinion on Blair Witch?
I don't because I think I know what it is
Wait.
and it's just gonna make me angry because I think that's one of the most genius movies ever made, especially if you look into the marketing and when it came out. I think that it's insanely impressive.
I'll go mute on my opinions then. That's cool.
No, come on. I was joking. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I don't like that film at all.
And-
I think it's man. I think that my issue with the Blair Witch Project is that not you, but a lot of the fans of it, the marketing was so great. Yeah, it was absolutely the Blair Witch.
Hmm.
There's no denying the influence it had. It basically created and set up the found footage genre, which is a huge thing in horror now.
Yeah.
And I think I applaud the film for that. But I think the film itself, to me, is a bit of a mess. I think the characters are annoying. I think it goes around in circles. I think it struggles to have a real point to follow and a real point of direction, especially within the final third.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those films where I definitely get why people like it,
Yeah.
but I honestly like find it really boring to sit through. And I have retried it. I might try again. It's been like a year, maybe.
Yeah, I think
But yeah,
the whole thing for me is, and I talked to Jagger about this, is I don't, the whole like, we're gonna give you a bunch of jump scares to scare you, that doesn't scare me.
no,
And
it doesn't scare me anymore either.
no, blood and gore, like the gorier the better, but again, that doesn't scare me. That just makes me have more of a good time with the film. What really scares me, and I think which is why Hell House scared me so much, is when you're able to build an unsettling and stressful and creepy atmosphere.
Yeah, which Hell House perfected in the first half an hour.
Yes, and
Definitely.
which is like a movie like The Babadook. That
Yeah,
movie did that so well, and it scared me so much.
yeah, it's a good film.
And I feel like Blair Witch does an outstanding job at that, and that's why I think I love it so much. But I can definitely see where you're coming from and the points you're making.
Got
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
I watched some like a short film that I was recommended by someone on a TikTok comment
Mm-hmm.
called Possibly in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of this?
No.
No, I don't think so.
It's a 1983 15-minute horror like short,
Yeah.
and it's I don't know if you either of you have seen Sleepaway Camp. Um
I think so.
the ending of Sleepaway Camp is just an unsettling image where it's like her with like a big open mouth. Um it's if you took that shot and made it move for 15 minutes and it was just deeply unsettling and it was like a movie that was crawling under your skin, that's what the whole thing was. And I hated every
sounds cool.
second
I'll watch
of it. It was really like it's a
watch it.
movie that, like you said, is something that makes you like ugh, even after it's over. Seth, I think you should check it out. It's great.
It's on YouTube. I'll give it a watch.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
man,
Definitely.
freaked
Some of
me
those
out.
YouTube horror shorts I feel like are pretty solid. Like I have a good time with some
I've
of them.
watched, yeah, loads of them. Some of them are pretty good. Like if you haven't got much time, some of them are like 10 minutes, and they're pretty creepy. Like they're pretty well
Yeah.
done. Too.
Yeah. Also, Jagger, I finally watched Evil Dead Rise.
You
Um,
did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that title card, that is one of the best title cards I have ever seen, where it comes up over the mountain. Seth, I don't know. Did you see that? I think I
Yeah, so I watched
talked
that.
about it a while ago.
I watched it like a bit. I saw it twice because I saw it a few weeks earlier. I was doing some work with Studio Canal, and I actually liked it. I think more on second. I like it. I really did. I think it is exactly what you kind of want from an Evil Dead film.
Exactly.
It was
Yeah.
just unapologetically Evil Dead. I do think, though, some of the commentary wasn't needed, just regarding her as a main character. I don't think we need that in most Evil Dead films, but I think if you're looking for some just crazy slaughter, that's the right place to go. And I think, yeah, the title card we spoke about on a podcast, really, really good.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the best I've seen in a long time. I think the Evil Dead films are just so consistent in my eyes. I've not had a bad time with
100%.
any of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I didn't love the Evil Dead reboot from 2013.
Yeah, that's my last
I
place, but I still think it's okay in my eyes.
Yeah, it's all right, but I think it lost a lot of the charm that Raimi was able to inject into the original three. But I
Yeah.
feel like they got a little bit of that back in this new one, and I thought Alyssa Sutherland was unbelievable.
Yeah, she was great. She was great.
It was just so fun to watch, and the cheese grater scene, dude. My toes
crazy.
curled. I was laying in bed watching
Yeah.
this, and I was like, God,
Yeah,
it was
crazy.
unbelievable. But enough about I could go on for days talking about horror. But I think we should get into our draft if you guys are cool with that. So our draft today is we are going to do a draft of the top 5 fictional worlds that we would like to live in. And Seth, I know on the Real Talk pod you guys do snake drafts. We just kind of go like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
Okay,
1, 2,
yeah.
3. That's kind of how we like to do it. So Seth, since you're the guest, and I will keep track on a piece of paper. Oh, mother trucker. Since you're the guest, why don't you kick it off? What is your 1-1 pick for fictional worlds to live in?
Yeah, so I'll probably go the Shire. I think that's like an obvious
I
one for
knew
me.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to live in the Shire, definitely. That's
Yeah.
number one. I think we actually did this draft like it was one of our first episodes on our
Oh,
podcast.
really?
Yeah. We did it like about a year ago now. But yeah, the Shire first pick then, first pick now, definitely.
Sweet. Yeah. Jagger, what about you? What's your one pick?
I had some trouble with this, but I'm gonna take a one that maybe isn't exactly the most common pick. I'm gonna take the grid from Tron.
Oh, you mother. God damn it. That's in my top 25 of all time. God, Jagger. Oh, man.
I feel like that would
All
be
right.
so cool.
Yeah,
I was saving that till later because I didn't think anybody else would take it. Shit. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with my 1-1 pick. I'm gonna take the Oasis from Ready Player One.
yeah, I'm pretty sure George took that on ours actually. It's a good one. I'll go the Spirit Realm from Spirited Away.
Oh, that's a great pick. Oh, that is such a good pick. Jagger, what about you?
I'm gonna take a very recent one. I'm gonna take the Mushroom Kingdom from Mario, and that is a movie now, so I can take that. And I feel like
That's a W pick.
that's cool.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
I honestly loved the Super Mario Bros. Movie. It was pretty surface level, but I had such a good time with it.
Makes sense.
So okay, so I want to clarify. So Seth took the Shire as his 1-1 pick.
You can take another place in Middle Earth.
In Middle Earth?
I think
Okay.
I think you
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. You knew exactly. Actually, no. I'm gonna go with my second pick. I'm gonna go with Wakanda from the
yeah,
MCU.
that's interesting actually. That's interesting.
That's pretty good.
Seth?
I'll go. I'm a Harry Potter guy. I'll go the Wizarding World.
Heck yeah.
That was my next
We
pick.
love Harry Potter.
That's
Yeah, that
good.
was my next one too. Jagger, what about you?
Well, then I'm gonna take the next big one. I'm taking Narnia. I feel like
Yes.
that'd be
W.
great.
That's a W pick. Not great movies.
Not great movies, but what a world to live in.
Yeah. All right. I think. Oh, I had one here. I have a list right now. Where'd you go? Oh, what was it? Is it in Winnie the Pooh? It's the 1,000-Acre Wood, or what is it?
Yeah, that's quite a good one. I have no idea. That's a good one. I like it.
That's
Yeah,
really
that's
good.
what I'm gonna take. The 1,000-Acre Wood, just so I get to hang out with Winnie the Pooh.
That's a good one. I'll go Pandora. That'd be a great one.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's a. If you ever get a chance, Seth, if you ever get a chance to go to Florida, they have at Disney World. They have in Animal Kingdom. They have like a Pandora land.
Oh yeah, do they?
And it's awesome. And the Avatar ride, it's called like the Flight of Passage or something like that. It is one of the single greatest things I have ever experienced.
I do.
So if you ever get a chance, that is very, very cool. Okay. So the Jagger, why don't you go ahead with your fourth pick?
My fourth pick? Okay, I'm gonna take Oz.
Yep.
Oh shit, man! I only had 5 down. Fuck.
That's a great pick.
Shit, that's really
I gotta think what I want for my fourth pick. I think I am gonna take Skull Island for my fourth pick. I feel like that'd be pretty cool.
That's
Kind of
good.
dangerous, but cool. Seth, fifth and final pick. What are you taking?
I was gonna say Oz, so I'll just go with something recent. I'll go with Inner Sharon from obviously the Banshees of Inner Sharon last year.
Oh, yeah,
Secluded, isolated, nice countryside. I'd like that. Even
yeah,
though it's like it is a real place, but it's not called Inner Sharon, so I'm taking it anyway. Does
yeah,
that count?
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that
No, yeah.
counts.
That's
Yeah, cool.
that's a great pick. I think. God, now I gotta think of. Um, hmm. Jagger, fifth pick. Sorry, I'm trying to do like multiple things at once. Give us your fifth pick.
Maybe it's not the safest of places, and I'm having trouble thinking of anything else. So I'm just gonna have to go with Wonderland from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh shit, that'd be
Oh,
interesting.
that's a great pick.
It'd be really interesting.
Um,
So,
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I am gonna go with. Oh, I already know what I want to do. I'm gonna go with Camp Half Blood from Percy Jackson.
I haven't seen that
that's
in years.
that's good. I
Um,
that didn't even
since
cross my mind.
I grew up with those books, movies aren't great, but those books are phenomenal. All right, so to review, for our picks, Seth, you chose The Shire, the Spirit Realm from Spirited Away, the Wizarding World, Pandora, and Inisherin from Banshees. And then Jagger, you went with The Grid, the Mushroom Kingdom, Narnia, Oz, and Wonderland from Alice in Wonderland. And I, Trey, went with The Oasis from Ready Player One, Wakanda, Thousand Acre Wood from Winnie the Pooh, Skull Island, and Camp Half Blood. So everybody, either if you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below who you think won this draft. Or if you are listening to this on Spotify, give us. Isn't there a little response thing they can do on Spotify, Jagger?
There's a response thing they can do on Spotify, but instead of saying who won the draft, I think they should use this as an opportunity to give us a question, bit, draft, whatever, because this was
Yeah.
actually a request from someone on Spotify. So,
Oh, really?
yeah,
I did not know that. That's our first request, like ever. That's
yeah.
super cool.
So,
Um,
leave a
yeah. So that
request and we'll put it in an upcoming episode. So, yeah.
for sure. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us on the average film. I almost said real talk. This isn't the real talk podcast. Thank you for joining us on the average film enjoyer podcast today. We would like to thank Seth for joining us. Seth, you want to do a little self promotion again? Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah. Seth's Film Reviews TikTok, Seth's Reviews Letterboxd. I think it's both Seth's Film Reviews on Instagram and YouTube as well. And also shout out the Real Talk podcast, of course.
Yeah,
The, the
yeah.
second best podcast behind the average film enjoyer.
Oh, I don't. Well, we appreciate it. Yeah, go check out the Real Talk podcast. Seth is on there with a few other film talkers, and they got some really good stuff on there. Some really good conversations. And if you want to follow me, oh, Jagger, you got something?
Oh, I was going to do the if you can find us thing, but it seemed like you were about to do that now.
Yeah, yeah. So you can find me and Jagger. I am Trey the Film Noob on TikTok and Trey RZ on Letterboxd. I need to get that changed so people can actually. I don't. Who's gonna know how to spell RZ? And then he is Jagger movie reviews on TikTok, right?
Film reviews.
Jagger film reviews. I always say movie reviews. Dang it.
Yeah, film's better.
Jagger.
I like
Yeah.
film.
Jagger film reviews on TikTok and Jagger Pot Pie on Letterboxd. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave us a like, subscribe, and comment. Comment anything you would like for us to talk about on the podcast, draft questions, stuff like that. But please subscribe. We love the support. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we would love for you to leave a review, specifically 5-star reviews. Those are our favorites. So keep supporting us so we can keep doing this. And if you want to watch a movie before Tuesday, we will have an episode releasing with our fellow movie talker, Film Gunch, reviewing the film It Happened One Night with Clark Gable, directed by Frank Capra. So that will be releasing Tuesday. So go ahead and give that a watch. We're going to be talking about that. We recorded earlier this week, and it was a phenomenal episode. Me and Jagger both had a great time recording. But again, we thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day, whatever time you're listening to the set.
All right, bye.